Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. And another heavyweight news and notes mashup video today, starting with Andy Ruiz Jr., who's asked his fans via his social media who should he fight next, and he's got a taker biting on social media in the form of Dereck Chisora. So you can see here on screen, Chisora responding to Ruiz's comment, Ruiz saying, "Who should I fight next? Let me see in the comments." And Chisora says, "Want to come to London?" So my emoji and then hashtag war. Following up, reposting a graphic ESPN Ringside created about, I don't want to say an exchange, but obviously Chisora commenting on that comment from Ruiz. And then also reposting a tweet from Michael Benson. I actually don't mind that fight. I think it's probably slightly unrealistic because Andy Ruiz Jr. signed to the PBC. More than likely that Ruiz Jr. is having his next fight in the United States against a PBC stablemate. Front runners would be Luis Ortiz. That's been a fight that's been talked about for the past couple of years since the pandemic began, and also Deontay Wilder. But I think there'll be an interim step before that. I don't think Wilder will walk straight into a Ruiz fight. I think he'll also probably have a tune-up as well. But Ruiz and Ortiz, Ruiz Wilder, Ruiz someone else within the PBC stable, maybe even Robert Helenius. There could be some other names there too that could end up having a fight with Andy Ruiz Jr. Unlikely though to be Dereck Chisora. But I mean, for Chisora, this is the sort of fight that he would want. He wants big money paydays. He's at the tail end of his career. He's done really well financially in recent years with pay-per-views, still an attraction despite all the losses, and clearly he's eyeing a payday here, saying obviously, to Andy Ruiz Jr., want to come to London. But unfortunately, unless it's a PBC card in the UK, maybe unlikely to happen. But for Ruiz, he's kind of been quite quiet recently, and there was a comment by Canelo Alvarez recently where he said he hadn't really seen Ruiz in the gym. And it's kind of like he's sprung back into life on his social media. You can see here, this is 10 hours ago at the time of recording, and over the course of that 24-hour period till that post 10 hours ago, whole bundle of different posts and some random stuff about crypto and all this sort of weirdness, but also, someone get me into Bitcoin, gas, how much is that in your town? Man, this is, I don't know, it just kind of feels like after a couple of months of nothing, remembering his former post before March 16 was saying Happy New Year, fight date coming soon. And then he's with a slew of different posts, and doesn't seem to be a whole lot of thought. It's maybe he just remembered his password and maybe I'll put a bit of effort in here, a few comments up. And then obviously he sort of goes back to one of his old posts that he used to use quite a bit in the pandemic, which is his old "Who should I fight next?" I mean, if you followed this channel for any length of time, I've kind of, made a point of pointing out Ruiz does this and all the time. Who should I fight next? I mean, fans have no bearing on these fights in reality. It's a business decision. It's made behind closed doors between promoters, managers, all that sort of stuff. So I would expect whatever's happening is going to be happening, but Ruiz Jr. sort of coming back to life on his Twitter account after a couple of months off. But I do hope that if it is Ruiz that's posted this, I mean, his social media game is pretty washed. He's, it's not great. And if he does have a social media person that's doing these posts, well, he needs to fire them because it's trash. Anyway, moving on. So you've got Frazer Clarke. So he will be off the Sky and Boxer card that he was due to be on the 26th of March, saying, "Gutted to no longer be boxing on the 26th. I suffered an injury in training last week. For those asking, I'll be back very soon. The journey will continue when I'm 100%. And I think that's a good decision. I mean, we've seen prospects in recent years, and I think Alan Babbage is a recent example. He was somewhat injured and underdone for a fight against a French journeyman, and he looked, pretty bang ordinary. So Clark, who was due to have a significant step up from his first fight to a second fight, was going to be facing Gabriel Nguema after facing a, debutant novice in his first fight. Nguema, a tough journeyman, durable. If you're not at 100%, you're asking for some potential issues. So I think it's a good decision. They've pulled out and they haven't sort of risked it. And he does have some time. He's obviously a slightly older heavyweight turning pro in his 30s, but he does have a window of time. He's saying in the next 5 years, by the time he's 35 or so, he wants to be heavyweight champion, wants to be moved quickly, but they also need to move him in the right way. So if he's injured, don't fight. Obviously, that's could be a recipe for disaster if you do go through with that. Moving on, so the German heavyweight 6'8" Christian Thun of his upcoming fight against Amron Sands in Florida, the United States, in April says, "I'm not here to take part. I'm not here to take over. I'm here to destroy every single thing that steps in my path." So he's got just over half a dozen fights on his ledger so far. That'll be an interesting fight with Amron Sands. Lucas Browne, who's coming off a win a couple of months ago and was looking to get back in the ring as soon as possible, and he had talked about potentially being on the George Kambosos card, has given a bit of an update. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, so this is an abridged version, because the whole 3 minutes 44 clip is a little bit of a sort of a woe is me sort of clip, but I'll just play a few highlights here.
I get told there's a fight in February. I'm like, excellent, so excited. It gets put back to March, and then due to COVID, it gets cancelled. I organise another fight for April. Again, get all excited, still training, still pushing forward, still doing what I'm doing. Then the guy pulls out. I then land a big fight for April. Again, excited. Here we are training every day, doing all I should be doing. Everything on my end is fine. Now, due to the war and bullshit with Russia and Ukraine, Lomachenko, who's the opponent for Kambosos, was supposed to be fighting in May. So I'm all excited about May. I hear news this morning that Lomachenko is indeed wanting and willing to fight, but it now won't be till June. I'm not allowed to fight a fight but before that. That's also the issue. I can't just go, let's have a warm-up fight before and stay busy. I can't, I'm not allowed. So yeah, I'm now patiently supposed to wait, stay focused, stay mentally ready.
And rounding out this heavyweight news and notes mashup video, so you have the prospect Brandon Moore, who's currently 11-0. He'll be featuring on a Dimitri Salita show that will be in Dearborn, Michigan on the 2nd of April. So Moore himself, he says, "I'm excited to fight in Detroit. Dimitri Salita is a great promoter and he's always has first-class events. Fighting here is like the resurrection of Joe Louis in his adopted hometown. Get ready for a show. I'm the most exciting and energetic heavyweight in the world. April 2, everyone gets to see." And I think it's fair to say most people probably really haven't seen much of him. They might have seen the odd snippet here and there, but I think he's a name largely unknown to heavyweight fans and boxing fans more broadly. But Brandon Moore, Dimitri Salita says, Brandon Moore is an exciting new force in boxing's most glamorous division, and the fans are in for a treat. He's up against a tough and unpredictable opponent, and this is Curtis Harper, his opponent, who has pulled off a few surprises. And I'll leave it there in terms of the quote, but I will say in terms of the few surprises, one of them being stepping out of the ring against F.A. Ajagba a number of years ago about a pay dispute. And so that was a knockout or a TKO win for Ajagba after 1 second because the fight was over. Anyway, what do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.